Hey, what's going on, guys? So in the most recent PTR patch, they buffed Zuni quite a bit. It's still not good enough, but it's heading in the right direction. Currently, it seems to be benefiting Carnevil Poison Dart Doctors the most, and it's really because of gearing options. In regular pet builds, you're trying to run Mascagerum, Tasker and Theos, Homunculus, you want to run good rings, and all that stuff. It's pretty tough to fit everything in and have enough damage with the current Zuni setup. So they either need to add more gearing options, add more pieces, or they need to buff the 6-piece bonus to a point where it's powerful enough that not running Tasker and Theos, or whatever piece that you are missing is not crippling to the build as far as damage. I think even if you were able to, fit every pet item in currently with the buff, it still probably wouldn't be competing with what Wizards and Barbarians are doing currently. Now those specs, those classes might get nerfed. We'll see what happens. It's still, relatively early in the PTR, hopefully. We'll see how long it goes for. But so currently what they did is they did add another piece, so we have Zuni Pants now. So this is really great for Carnevil because what it allows you to do is drop the Zuni Pox, and then you can either run a Stone of Jordan for damage or a Unity for more damage reduction, or maybe one of the new rings potentially if you want to run something that they added in the PTR or one of the rings that they changed in the PTR. But it's really good for Carnevil because they already don't need to run Tasker and Theos, so the gloves are fine. And they don't really need to run Homunculus either, so the Zuni string is also fine in the build. Alright, so the changes to the Zuni set in this last patch. So the 2-piece is now what the old 4-piece used to be. Your fetish army lasts until they die. Really nice change, especially for when you're first starting out in a season and you don't have a lot of gear yet. You maybe just hit 70. Getting 2 pieces of Zuni is not going to be too terribly difficult. You should get it pretty quick, and you get a really powerful effect out of it for trying to level Paragon and get some legendaries going early on in the season. The 4-piece is amazing and brand new. You and your pets take 2% less damage for every fetish you have alive. So potentially you have out 23 fetishes, 15 from the passive and 8 from Legion of Daggers. So that's a huge damage reduction, and potentially allows you to not even run Unity at that point. And then also, your fetishes are taking a ton less damage as well, which is going to be really nice against some of the really nasty Rift Guardians that tend to kill your pets off. The 6-piece bonus is still the same effect that it was before, just buffed a little bit. Enemies hit by your mana spenders take 150% more damage from your pets for 4 seconds. So that's up from 100%, and it's still not quite good enough. It's definitely going in the right direction, don't get me wrong. Hopefully maybe around 200% would be enough. We'll see with the next PTR patch what they end up doing. I still think that 4 seconds isn't quite long enough. If they expect us to tag the enemies to put the debuff on them, then they need to make it 5 or 6 seconds, I think. And I would really like to see some sort of damage multiplier added for your spenders. If they want us, if their goal is for us to actually spam spenders, then they need to give us some sort of multiplier for those spenders to give us some AoE damage, and they also need to give us some sort of mana regeneration, potentially some mana regen. When your pets attack an enemy, you get 5 mana back or something along those lines. If that's what they really want us to do. Otherwise, we're just going to gravitate towards abilities that we can just cast and they sit on the ground and continuously deal damage. Things like piranhas, Paranado, frozen piranhas, zombie piranhas. In this build, I'm running Spirit Barrage Phantasm. It's something that you can just cast in an area and it just will sit there and deal damage as enemies walk towards it. Things like that. And I don't think that's their goal for the set, but, again, I guess I'm not a developer, so maybe it is. So anyways, we're going to run a Carnevil build for this video. I'm pretty sure somebody's done a 49 with Carnevil on the PTR currently. There's a 50 that's been completed. I'm not positive it was with Carnevil though, but it probably was. Personally, 47 is my highest so far. Almost did a 48, but wasn't quite fast enough. But the potential is definitely there to do a 50 or 51 if your gear is really good. Right now, I really don't have a very good Dagger of Darts. It is ancient, but it could be way higher damage and things like that. I've got a lot of pieces that I could definitely upgrade. And my legendary gems also are not upgraded very high at the moment either. Let's take a look at the spec. So we're running Poison Dart Snake to the face. You definitely want to run this rune for greater rifting. It's going to stun a lot of enemies, and most importantly going to stun the Rift Guardians as well a good amount of the time, which will keep you alive and keep your pets alive too. Definitely want to run this rune. If you're just doing like T6 or something, you could probably run any rune and be fine. Spirit Barrage Phantasm. We're going to run this mainly to tag enemies for the 6-piece bonus. Shout out to, I believe it's Baskinator. He was the first person that I saw running this on the PTR, and once I gave it a try, thought it was pretty good. Before that, I was trying to run zombie piranhas to tag a bunch of enemies because the zombie piranhas will jump out of the pool and hit a huge radius of enemies with the 6-piece Zuni bonus, but this seems better overall, and this way we can continue to run Paranado, which is really important for Carnevil builds in general to group everything together. So I like this quite a bit. You know, it's really not there for the damage or anything like that. It's just simply to proc that 6-piece bonus. Big Bad Voodoo Slam Dance, more damage, more attack speed, really, really good. You know, you want to just drop it for elites and champions and bosses for the most part. Spirit Walk Jaunt to stay alive and for movement speed. Piranha's Paranado, again, to group everything together, especially with Dagger of Darts piercing through the enemies. It's really important to, hit as many enemies at once as possible, and grouping them together like this allows you to do that. Fetish Army Legion of Daggers, so we get 8 fetishes out, all shooting darts. Pierce the Veil for more damage. Grave Injustice for cooldown reduction. We also get a little bit of life and mana back on kill. So we've got Spirit Vessel really just to have a second life. You know, if an enemy puts Thunderstorm above your head or hits you with Jailer or some of the really nasty Rift Guardians, this is going to come in really handy and keep your Greater Rift timers down. We got the Fetish passive. This is up to 15% from 10% on PTR, which means with Dagger of Darts hitting multiple enemies, you're going to get fetishes out really, really fast. And even against single targets now, with it being 15%, you'll get fetishes out much quicker than you would before with Poison Dart Snake to the face. Your other option would be to run the Belt of Transcendence, which you may have noticed last patch. This was a pants, but they changed this to a belt, and you can just get fetishes out that way if you would like to. I think in Carnevil it's better to run a Witching Hour because attack speed's king and you get crit damage out of it. But this is an option if you wanted to do this. You'd probably swap this passive out for something like Gruesome Feast for more damage. I wouldn't really do that unless you had a decent amount of pickup radius, something like 8 to 10 or so to pick up the health globes pretty consistently without having to walk right on top of them. Alright, take a look at the gearing. So we've got the Carnevil. Your fetishes shoot a poison dart every time you do. Pretty much the basis for the build. The Dagger of Darts, like I already showed you. Your poison darts and your fetishes poison darts now pierce. Really important to get that AoE damage. And again, you get fetishes out really fast with the passive this way. And things like that. You're also, piercing for Snake to the face to stun multiple enemies and all that good stuff. So as far as Zuni pieces go, we're running the gloves trifecta, the chest piece with Fetish Army damage, the pants with Poison Dart damage. In patch 2.1.2, they changed it so that Poison Dart damage affects every one of your fetishes when they shoot Poison Darts, which was a huge damage increase in general. Got the Zuni Trail, Ancient, and then the Zuni String of Skulls. Ideally, you want this to be Ancient because it'll roll higher average damage, and then you want Poison Dart damage on there. Secondary would be Fetish Army damage if you can't get the Poison Dart damage rolled. Mojos in general can be pretty difficult to get rolled what you want because there's so many options. So Fetish Army damage would be okay until you got Poison Dart damage. As far as Augilds go, we've got the Ancient Bracers with Poison and Crit Chance. The Shoulders with Fetish Army damage there again. And then we got the Ring of Royal Grandeur here to get the 3-piece bonus of an Augilds and the 6-piece bonus on Zuni. We got a Witching Hour, attack speed, crit damage, and ideally you want Poison Dart damage there as well. So you want to make sure you get Poison Dart damage, belt, pants, offhand, Fetish Army damage, chest, shoulders. And then our other ring is a Stone of Jordan with poison damage, crit damage, and elite damage on there. And then we're running a Countess Julia's, mainly just so you don't get one-shot by Jailer and things like that. You can really run any amulet you want to, but this is really, really nice. Especially once you get up to, 48 plus greater rifts. It seems like Jailer is going to one-shot you just about every time. Especially, I'm trying not to run Unity at the moment. So if you're not running Unity in the build and you're just relying on the 4-piece Zuni bonus for damage reduction, then something like this is pretty nice. And, a Zephyrian would be nice too, because Thunderstorm potentially is going to one-shot you, which is pretty tough to get out of the way of, unless you time your Spirit Walks pretty much perfectly. But, that's an option there. So that's pretty much all the gear. As far as legendary gems go, the main 2 that you definitely want to run is Gogok of Swiftness. Again, your fetishes shoot darts every time you do, so the more attack speed you have, the better. Getting 15% attack speed out of one slot is extremely powerful. And then the Simplicity Strength gem, which this was also changed in patch 2.1.2 to affect all your fetishes when they shoot darts as well. Another huge damage upgrade in that patch for Carnevil builds. And then the secondary is also pretty nice for sustain as well. Primary skills heal you for 2% of maximum life on hit. And then the third gem that I'm currently running is the Enforcer. You get pet damage out of it, and then your pets take 25% less damage. There's not really any other gems in the third slot I would recommend, at least not at the moment. I think this is your best bet, especially if you're trying to push up into really high greater rifts. I mean, even with this effect and the 4-piece Zuni effect, my pets will still die to certain Rift Guardians, so I think that's pretty important for the build overall. As far as Paragon points go, get as much movement speed as you need and then go intelligence. Offense-wise, you want to get around at least 50% crit chance. The higher the better. Then attack speed and crit damage are both really important. You know, attack speed, again, every time you shoot a dart, your fetishes are going to. Ends up being a huge damage increase overall. Defense-wise, armor percentage, life percentage, and then all resist. And then utility-wise, none of this really matters too much. Your pets aren't going to proc area damage or life on hit. You don't really need resource cost reduction too much. So life on hit is probably the best option, and then area damage. You can always go gold fine too if you aren't doing greater rifts, you're doing T6 or something like that to get more gold. It's up to you. So I'm going to show the footage of a 47 greater rift I did earlier today. It was really pretty easy overall. In fact, if it was like a 49 or 50, I think I probably could have completed it in time. It was a Dust Eaters map, which in general is really easy, zombies. And I think I died twice. The first death was pretty stupid. The second death, it was a mixture of a couple things and Thunderstorm on top of me. I don't think there was a whole heck of a lot I could have done about that one. The first death, though, I definitely could have avoided. Just ignore the song title on the top of the screen during the gameplay. And the mic's going to be off for the gameplay portion of the video. So as always, guys, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.